Good morning. It's Friday morning and it's time for Fridays with Frank once again. And this is Scott Cullen. I'm editor-in-chief of the Cannata Report. But the reason you're all here this morning is to hear from Frank Cannata, our founder. Frank, how's it going?
It's going very well. Thank you, Scott. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. So there's been some big news in the industry this year with lots of executive departures and comings and goings. And one of the latest is Toshiba. Scott Maccabe is leaving. Larry White is taking his place at Toshiba. And I know you know both of those gentlemen very well. And I was curious what your thoughts are about this latest news.
Well, it was no surprise. Scott and I have enjoyed a very, very positive relationship since he joined Toshiba 8 years ago. And he informed me several months ago that June was going to be the end of his stay at Toshiba. I have to say that Toshiba, you first have to accept the fact that they're different or unique than the other companies. They have a staff there that has tremendous tenure. They seem to not only work well together, they enjoy working together. It's a phenomenon you don't often see. I've been doing business with Toshiba 26 years. And that's been the constant, even though the staff obviously evolves and changes. People come, people go, people retire. It's still there, and it's just an amazing dynamic. In fact, many years ago, when Brian Merriman, who was president of Savin at the time, was offered the job to be president of Toshiba, he called me up and we had lunch. He wanted me to give him a kind of an understanding or appreciation of what kind of staff he was inheriting. I said, you won't have to make one change. I said, maybe you might want to consider one, but it's a great staff. You will enjoy working with them. And sure enough, 5 or 6 months after that, Brian told me, we were at a meeting. He said, you're right. He said, I only made one change. And it's just unbelievable. And you have to appreciate that. But that said, Scott had been working for Toshiba for 10 years. He was not an unknown. He was just in a different area. I think what Scott brought to the table was a very strong commitment to his staff. Do your job. I got your back. If you recall, when we were on that interview with he and Larry, he made the point of sharing with us a story that one day they were having a meeting with Japan, obviously on the phone, and he had his key staff members present, and they were discussing things. And one of the Japanese was not being respectful to one of the staff members or to whomever he was speaking to. Scott hung up the phone. And this is what he shared with us. And they called him back. He says, I won't tolerate anybody speaking that way to my staff. They were all amazed. Oh, you're talking to the boss and telling him he can't speak that way to us? And he says, yeah. He says, they got to speak with respect. They deserve respect, and we'll give them respect. And obviously, the Japanese were very much enamored with Scott and what he did for that company. He inherited not a good situation on, they had acquired IBM's POS business, and it did not go well. They paid $850 million, and a few years later, they had to write off $850 million. And Scott was given the job of cleaning it up, and he commuted between Irvine in California and I forgot where in Charlotte, I think, in North Carolina, on a regular basis until it was done. But the amazing thing I think about Scott, or not the amazing thing, the marks that he made as a very good executive was he allowed his staff to do their thing to their best potential, and he supported that. He encouraged that. So he brought out the best in the people that he worked for. He was very different than a lot of executives who want to bring people in to positions when they're promoted, people they will feel comfortable with. What they want is somebody that they know will be loyal to them, that will owe their jobs to them. Therefore, they have great control. That wasn't Scott. And I think if you talk to each one of the people that, starting with Larry and work your way down, everyone would say it was a pleasure working with him. And obviously, they did well. If I recall during the conversation, either Larry or Scott himself said they hit highs three of the 8 years that were there that they had never reached before. So that it was a win-win situation. He's a good guy. He performed his best. The only thing I'd like to leave our audience with is this guy is not done. He still wants to work. He said the gentlemanly thing, the respectful thing. Moving on, it's time, to give the staff the chance to step up, get higher positions. He's still a young guy. I don't see him not taking another position. I think if anybody says, well, he's a man that is at retirement age, why would you hire him? He's 20 years younger than me. And believe me when I tell you, he's got it. And I think other companies looking for somebody, whether it's a special role or somebody to come in and take a look at a given situation and get a sense of what they need to do, you couldn't pick a better guy than him.
And Frank, what about Larry? You've known Larry, you're probably
pretty
longer
much the
than
same
Scott.
length of time. Larry came, I'd say I know Larry came with Rick Taylor. So that was about 23 years ago. Larry is the consummate sales leader. That was his job. That's what he did. That's what I know him as. He took care of the dealers. I mean, the amazing thing about Toshiba is the amount or the depth of the loyalty they have to the brand. And I've asked a lot of dealers through the years, I said, you carry some very strong lines, Toshiba not being the strongest, and I mean in terms of breadth of product. And the answer is always the same. I wish the other two companies that I represent, or the other one company I represent, was as good to work with as Toshiba. Larry was very sensitive to that, to helping dealers. If dealers wanted to do a special event like a Blitz, I remember the first time I was invited to Atlantic by Larry Weiss, their Blitz that they do in November, which is incredible to begin with, before the Christmas holidays. Toshiba was there in full force. People, they were very active in the TV business and were giving out TVs as part of the awards to the salespeople, laptops, you name it. They came loaded for bear to help Larry do that Blitz. And I remember speaking again to the same person. When HP acquired Samsung, they said their goal was to replace what they called secondary lines, which they considered Toshiba, Kyocera, and Sharp as secondary lines. I said, you really think you're going to do that? You're going to go in, you're going to walk into these deals and say, I'm HP, say goodbye to Toshiba, say goodbye to Kyocera, or move them down a notch? I said, it ain't going to happen. And it didn't. Larry Weiss explained it beautifully when I asked him. I said, Larry, what do you think about that? He said, replace Toshiba? After 25 years? After what they've done for me? He said, it'll never happen. He said, that myth is Toshiba, and we're going to replace them with Toshiba machines. That I will say, he did take on HP. He said, I'm going to sell HP, and we'll do a good job with it. But it'll be to net new customers. It's not going to be from the other manufacturers that I represent, which HP didn't quite understand. And they still have difficulty understanding why a dealer would be loyal in that manner. Let's face it, HP is quite a brand and a very attractive line to carry. And a lot of dealers will say the same thing. So as far as Larry, he basically moves up. I am really not familiar with the direct side. I know it's not that big. I don't see him having any problems with dealing with that. But certainly, as far as the dealers are concerned, I don't think they'll miss a beat. I don't think they'll see any great difference because Larry's been working with those same people for years. And I guarantee you, he's not going to make any changes. I mean, well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, obviously, some people may want to move on, but in the essence, is saying that, well, that person's not up to speed. I'm going to bring in somebody stronger. I don't think you'll see that happen with Larry for that very same reason. He's going to be as successful as Scott was in many ways. He'll be different. Obviously, he's a different kind of person, but I think he'll do fine. I think the key, in all fairness to Larry, is he's got to get more support from Toshiba. That's it. They give him the support that he needs and respond to what he has to do, the things that he feels that they need to get the job done. He will get it done. He's got all the skill sets that he needs. He's got, in terms of working with people per se, he's a good people person. And another thing I'll tell you about Larry, he's got a lot of integrity. He's an honest guy. You ask him a question, he's going to give you an honest answer.